Okay, so last time we talked about different cryptocurrencies, and remember that one thing is really important. I specifically stress this concept being permissionless or permissioned. I said that, for example, like Bitcoin and Ethereum, the original template for blockchain. Those cryptocurrencies are they're both permissionless. So that means you can mine different things. You can mine their coin, and they are fully distributed, and everybody can be a miner, and the miner maintains the system, or is a miner contributes in part to the maintenance of the cryptocurrency. However, there are other cryptocurrencies that are permissioned. So when you guys hear anybody saying cryptocurrencies or blockchain, you have to be very careful about the context of it. Is it permissioned or is it permissionless? So if we look at the top 10 cryptocurrencies, as we can see that there's one called Tether, and there's this USDC coin. These two coins, they are both bound to the US dollar. So basically their value is more or less about $1. So one Tether coin is about $1. That's their idea. And they are maintained by a database which may not be centralized. I mean, they can be decentralized. But anyway, these concepts, okay, of permissionless do not exist in these two coins. They are permissioned. In other words, those like supernodes or verifier, okay, whatever they call it, only them have the privilege of verifying the transactions. Okay, so these two coins, their goal is to make the payment system is instead of a cryptocurrency. So they're more likely of a payment system, kind of like PayPal, that kind of thing. So it's bound to the US dollar. So these two coins, even though they're really hot, they are like top 5. These two, you cannot mine them. Okay. Also, XRP. This is called a Ripple coin. Okay, and you guys can take a look at the Ripple coin, and this is a little different. They are we will look at their consensus system, consensus idea. So when we talk about the consensus idea, I'll come back and then we'll take a look at the XRP. Okay, so last time we talked about this, and we also talked about smart contract, and I gave you guys an example of a this type of tool, this type of thing is particularly useful to implement insurance contract. Yeah, smart contract. So insurance contract is really good. And there are other database systems as well. We can take a look at the database system. Okay, so smart contract, we mentioned that. So the idea of smart contract is pretty much just generalizing the public ledger to include this type of if-then criteria. You can write the code-like stuff. If something happens, and okay, then you do something. This type of conditional statements in the public ledger. So there are many other examples. Okay, Ethereum. Now let's move on to the consensus algorithm. So the first, that's what we have introduced, is the proof of work (POW), and then we're going to talk about proof of stake as well. So we all know about the proof of work (POW). That's a consensus system. That's the system we use to eliminate the double spend problem, which is the most crucial problem in, within a cryptocurrency. So any cryptocurrency, any payment system, you have to eliminate the double spend problem. The proof of work, miners check the validity of the transactions for a fee. So this idea was originated from Bitcoin. The drawback is that it wastes too much energy. So I mentioned that on average, the energy we spend, I should say wasted on the proof of work among all kinds of cryptocurrencies is high. How high is it? The total energy amount of energy we wasted is enough to power a whole country as large as Denmark, something like that. So that's a lot of energy. Okay. And this is proof of work, and we'll also talk about other stuff, other concept, because there are so-called something so-called anti-ASIC cryptocurrencies. Okay, like the Monero coin. I will single out this special coin, Monero, which is anti-ASIC. So proof of work, it's easier to be controlled by big mining companies. We know that there's some really big mining companies for Bitcoin. Now there are a lot of them are in, for example, in Guizhou or in Neimeng, both in China. Those big companies are really big, and they're usually located in colder area, colder places, so that you don't have to waste more energy about to uh, to reduce the heat produced by those what is it called, the mining machines. Okay, usually these companies that are like you have one or two engineers that are responsible for a big plant. So within the plant, you have something like 1,000 mining machines. So they produce a lot of heat. That is why most of them are located at really cold places like Russia or China. Okay. And proof of work, now the situation is that it's almost completely controlled by big mining companies. So if you are an individual, it's almost impossible to compete with them. The reason is in the world of mining cryptocurrencies, it's winner takes all. So if you are the first one to find the proof, given some challenge, given the challenge, if you're the first to find the proof, you get the fee. Okay, you obtain the fee. And if you lose, you get nothing. So it's winner takes all. That's the situation. Now, those big mining companies, they have huge computational power. That is why it's almost impossible to compete with them. The probability of winning over them is quite small. So individuals are, I mean, it's almost you pretty much make no profit as an individual to compete with those big mining companies. So proof of work. Now there's another way, because proof of work, although it's a good idea to be able to um, make the cryptocurrency completely decentralized, completely distributed. It wastes too much energy. Okay, so now a lot of newer cryptocurrencies, they resort to another consensus algorithm. This is called the proof of stake. So a stake is like you have a share of a company or something. It's a stake, 股票. Okay, the idea really resembles company shares. Okay, if you are part of a if you own some shares of a company, okay, then you own part of the company, and then the idea is that those with enough shares can speak in a shareholders meeting, and then the more shares you have, the more influential you are. Okay, the more influence you have. Okay, so this is proof of stake. If you own more percentage of this company, then you should be your voice should be valued more, and you should be more likely to produce more coin. So that's how it works. To create a block, you have to have some shares. Okay, and the more the better. So they kind of invent the idea of coin age. Okay, so you possess coin for a certain amount of time, then the um, more you possess, the more coins you possess, or you possess for a longer time, they think, um, you're more eligible to get new coin. So they say basically they created this idea of coin age. So that means if you possess a coin for a day, then you have one coin age. Okay, if you possess a coin for 100 days, you have 100 coin age. Or you possess 100 coins for a day, you also have one coin age. So the coin age is kind of like the coin age is acts like stakes or shares. Okay, the one with more stakes is more likely to be selected as the next block creator. A block creator will basically mean creating new money. Okay. So, and if a block was created, that means you're selected, right? Then your coinage should be reset to 0, something like that. And to prevent from the people refrain from making transactions, because this kind of encourages people to store their coins. So people don't like to buy things, make transactions, because it's better to store your coin for a longer time. So they put a limit on the number of days to be counted towards the coin age. Apparently, this idea of proof of stake has a big drawback. That's bad fluidity. Yeah. So this happens. This happens when the wealthy people gets wealthier. If in a society, when the richest people are too rich, then you have bad fluidity. Okay, well the richer people can spend, but the total amount of money they spend, the total number of transactions they make, is not cannot be compared to a more evenly distributed society. So because more people can spend, then your economy grows bigger. Okay, so bad fluidity. So that's another coin age. That's another proof of stake. Okay, we can take a look at the XRP. You guys can take a look at this. You guys can Google this. The Ripple protocol consensus algorithm. So the consensus, we're talking about consensus. Yeah. Consensus algorithm. That's So we have two types of main consensus algorithms. One of them is the proof of work. The other is proof of stake. Okay, so we can take a look at the consensus algorithm. Now, so you just Google this. This is their white paper. If you guys cannot find, you can email me as well. I can put them there. But I believe it's very easy to find it. Just type this keyword, Ripple. Oh, I'm talking about Ripple. Ripple is XRP. That's this one. Oh, I'm sorry, not this one. So Ripple. So Ripple is this one. I'm taking this as an example. Yeah, this XRP is Ripple. So their consensus algorithm is a little different from other. It's neither proof of work nor proof of stake. So they have their own algorithm. We can take a look. Okay. So Ripple, let's go back. So we can take a look at their consensus algorithm, their definition. So we can go to page 4. So we can take a look. Yeah. So the idea is different. So Ripple, this type of this cryptocurrency, you can mine as well, and then it's implemented to increase the efficiency of Bitcoin, because we know that Bitcoin isn't very efficient. It takes 10 minutes to temporarily confirm a transaction, and it takes a whole hour to fully confirm a transaction. So that takes some time. Okay. Just think about the payment system. Okay, you want to make a payment, and then you have to wait for 1 hour to really make sure that your payment has gone through. That's too much. Okay, so definitely if you're buying something, you use, for example, like PayPal, or you use Taobao, that kind of thing. It's not comparable to those. So, they want to kind of take the idea of Bitcoin so you can mine, and they also want the confirmation to be faster, right? So that is why they have their special consensus algorithm. You guys can take a look at those. Okay, so forget. So the Ripple protocol will achieve consensus at each ledger close. Okay, and trivial consensus will only be reached with a known probability. So it's a probabilistic protocol. They may fail. That is why it's Ripple had some litigations as well. If you guys Google the history of Ripple coin, just type Ripple coin and then Google it. Look at the Wikipedia. There's some litigation against the Ripple too. Okay, so the protocol is based on there is a famous problem called Byzantine failure, because it's based on the Byzantine generals problem. That means in the really large network, you have to make sure that every node is updated. That's the Byzantine general problem. Okay. So they basically introduce a probabilistic method. Okay. So they have some server, and they also have a user. So theoretically, the server can be anybody. So they claim that they're like Bitcoin. But however, in practice, the servers right now, they're mostly banks. Okay, so there are not that many servers, and then they have a special protocol within those servers, so that they can be sync. That's the reason why they can improve the efficiency. So it's not completely proof of work, okay, because it's faster, and then only the servers can do that, right? So they have their special agreement among them, okay, and then it's a probabilistic protocol. If there's any anomaly between two different chains, two different pieces of transaction data, they look at the consensus. If 80% of the servers they agree, then they think it is true. So they have a threshold to be 80%. You guys can take a look at this Ripple consensus white paper. Okay, just take a look if you guys are interested. So this anyway, the idea is that we have to be sure about the context of each cryptocurrency. Okay, or blockchain. When you guys hear anything like that, it's okay. It may have different contexts. Okay, so as we can see that there's so many. Okay, so many cryptocurrencies that you cannot mine. I already said within top 5 you have number 3 and number 5. Both of them they are controlled by servers, and the XRP is kind of like controlled by the servers, and then theoretically you can be a server as well. So it's kind of like a mixture between these two. So a mixture between a permissioned or permissionless. You have all kinds of stuff like that, mixture. Okay, so let's move on to another topic, the anti-ASIC. Okay. Oh, by the way, for these consensus algorithms, POW and POS, okay, there are others. I just mentioned there's the Ripple consensus protocol, and there's also mixture between those. Okay, but anyway, if you want to have mixture, you cannot be fully distributed, because you gotta have some special nodes, okay, to be able to verify these things. Now, there are some currencies recently they know that they found the fact that Bitcoin is pretty much controlled by big mining companies in for example China and Russia. They control Bitcoin, so we know that the original idea of the Bitcoin is that they really want to be an open network, so that everybody can make payment, make transactions without being limited to anybody. So free transaction, that kind of thing. However, if they are completely controlled by big mining companies, that actually goes against the original idea, right? Because the dream is like every individual, you can take part in the verification. So you don't want to be controlled by those companies, right? That's why there's another type of cryptocurrency called anti-ASIC cryptocurrencies. So in the original idea of Bitcoin, we know that the hash algorithm used in Bitcoin is SHA-256. Okay, and then this algorithm, we also mentioned that earlier. So this algorithm, they really resemble like the symmetric algorithms, right? Something like that. You have a lot of XOR or bitwise operations, that kind of thing, and then you take turn. So these algorithms, they require a lot of computations. However, those computations, they can be made really efficient if you have special hardware. That is why TSMC actually sell a lot of ASIC that's dedicated to those calculating this SHA-256 Quangji. Okay, so that's the one that's most efficient. And also you can use graphic cards like NVIDIA actually made a lot of money too, especially like really high speed GPU. Okay, because the computation that GPU is doing, is dedicated to, is very similar to the tasks that SHA-256 is really similar to those. So they're more efficient. And then if you use GPU to mine these coins, you have more flexibility. But the most efficient one is actually ASIC. So you have to have dedicated hardware. But that's the fastest. Now, there are some cryptocurrencies they want to use better hash algorithms so that it's difficult to it's so that if you use a GPU or even you use ASIC, dedicated ASIC, it won't be significantly faster. So we have this type of hash algorithms. For example, like script. This is a hash algorithm used in Litecoin. That will be harder because they use a lot of other tricks, like they use a lot of the memory and that kind of stuff. And also ETH hash, which is used in Ethereum. And then there are other ones like X11. It's used in Dash. And X11 is they actually took the idea of the if you guys Google X11, they took the ideas from the finalist of the SHA-256. So let's Google X11 hash. Yeah, if you guys Google this, X11 wiki, okay. Yeah. So actually, it's used in Dash, right? And in later versions, it's a proof of work hash algorithm. It's proof of work consensus algorithm as well. And you can also, maybe we can use this. Yeah, I'm sorry. I close this. Maybe I can use X16R. Yeah, X16R. This one is probably better. X16R hash. It's used in Raven coin. Yeah. They took the idea from many other hash algorithms. So wiki doesn't have X, maybe X17, X17. Okay. Yeah. We can Google X17, X17 hash. Yeah. So didn't find anything useful. I don't know why they removed it. Maybe X16R. Couldn't find the wiki, right? So anyway, X11 has been improved. X16R, yes. So they want to remove ASIC mining. So X16R algorithm can be one of these ones. And you're not sure. And I mean, when you are running the algorithm with some input, okay, before running the algorithm, you have no idea which of these algorithms will be used. So you have Blake, BMW, Grosto. So we have like 16 of those. A lot of them, they were actually within the finalists of SHA-256. So these algorithms. So depending on the depending on the data, you will choose which algorithm you run. For example, like this, right? So if the consists of 16 hash algorithms in chain, okay, depending on the last 8 bytes of the hash value of the previous block. So the last 8 bytes. So it depends. So depending on those, is it 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, something like that? Okay, so there's some examples. So anyway, depending on the result, you will decide which algorithm you are going to run. Okay, that makes ASIC quite difficult because you really have no idea which algorithm you'll be running, and then you can't have expected result, right? That is why if you're for example, you're designing the ASIC, you have to implement these all of the 16 algorithms. So the size will be big and the benefit is not that much. So this is anti-ASIC cryptocurrency. That's the idea. It's improved from X11 in which there are 11 candidates, and then later it's been extended to X13, X15, X17, X16R, and many others as well. Okay, so script is the one used in Litecoin. Basically, it's a proof of work consensus algorithm. It also generates a lot of pseudo-random numbers. So it generates a lot of pseudo-random number dates to be computed, and then it needs a lot of memory. And generally speaking, if you're designing an ASIC, it's expensive to add a lot of memory. It's used both in the Litecoin and the Dogecoin. Dogecoin is the one really preferred by Elon Musk, right? Today, maybe you guys have heard about the news. Did you guys know about news that Elon Musk actually bought Twitter? Okay, he owns more than 50% of the shares of Twitter, and a lot of people they have concern about the free speech, that kind of thing. And then also, Elon Musk repeatedly said he likes Dogecoin. That is why he actually promoted Dogecoin. Okay, and Dogecoin also uses script and needs a lot of memory. And in that case, GPU is more efficient. Okay, GPU is more efficient in executing script. Let's compare with the CPU. But ASIC won't be that much better. So that is why actually, because of script, there's a shortage of really fast GPU in 2013, because lots of people they're buying GPUs like NVIDIA GPUs, higher, high efficiency GPU cards. So then there's a shortage, and NVIDIA made a lot of money out of this. Okay, that's script. X11 was used in Dash as well. So it's serializing 11 different hash algorithms, including this. Okay, Blake Blue Midnight. So that is X11. It also needs a lot of memory, just like what we've seen. Okay, and then these hash algorithms, they were actually hash competitors with SHA-256. Okay, so the SHA-256 is actually this one. It's called Ketchak. So Ketchak was SHA-256. This is pronounced Ketchak. You guys can Google this. So just Google Ketchak. It says there's a special. So this is SHA-3. SHA-3 is actually SHA-256. This is Ketchak. Okay. So it's certified by FIPS. Okay, and the other competitors of those are the ones included. These ones. The Ketchak is an improved version, but basically SHA-256. Yes, so the Ketchak. You guys can take a look. And they basically, the NIST did similar things to the DES. They issued an open call. They open for any competitors, that kind of thing. So it's similar to AES. AES. So a lot of competitors. These were their competitors. Okay, and they're used in X11. Okay. So before we move to NFT, let's talk about the strange thing about Bitcoin. So I mentioned that Bitcoin is really We all know that Bitcoin theoretically will be worthless. The main reason is there is a limit of the total number of Bitcoin that can be issued, right? That's 21 million BTCs. That's the upper limit. And the other thing is we know that every time when you issue the total number of BTCs being issued doubles, the hardness of the difficulty of mining also doubles. Okay, so that will make mining more and more difficult. Okay, more and more difficult to prevent strong inflation. So that's the original idea. But anyway, uh, since it has these properties, we know that since there is an upper limit, we must reach a point. It's just a matter of time. We'll reach a point that these miners they cannot make money anymore because it's you have to invest hardware and then probably energy. Mostly the energy was run by running this hardware and also probably cooling units as well. Okay, so these are the cost. So the cost is the same, but the hardness is the hardness is getting more and more. It's getting more and more difficult to get the reward, to obtain the reward. So sooner or later, we will reach a point that these miners cannot make any profit at all. Okay, so if that happens, then if nobody wants to mine the Bitcoin anymore, the price will break. Okay, will collapse. That's pretty much what will happen. I said that in the year 2017. So this more than five years ago. I thought these price cannot maintain such a high price. That time it was like $900 per Bitcoin, $901,000. Okay, but since I said this, the price of Bitcoin has gone up ever since I said this. So a lot of people lots of students ask me why. There are many reasons why Bitcoin can maintain this um, unreasonable amount of an unreasonable value. One of the reasons is, first, we have capital flight from China. We know that the Chinese renminbi, okay, is highly controlled by the Communist Party. So in other words, the amount of renminbi you can leave China is highly regulated. The reason is the Communist Party didn't want renminbi to be fully exchanged with the major coins in the major currencies in the world. The main reason is that actually, if you have a choice, nobody wants renminbi. That's a reason. Okay, let me tell you this. We know that China and Iran are good buddies, right? China supported Iran a lot. Iran sold oil to China. But the thing is, do you guys know that when Iran sold, even if Iran sells oil to China now, okay, China pays the renminbi, right? Iran immediately converts renminbi into US dollar because you cannot buy anything with a renminbi outside China. That's the main thing. Nobody wants it, right? So, and then let's say if you go to China and make some money, so you get a lot of renminbi, it's difficult to convert them back to any other main currencies. So that is why there's a really huge demand of renminbi. That needs to be that needs to go out of China. So that is called the capital flight. So Bitcoin is one of the main reasons, one of the main channels of the capital flight in China. That is why its price is unreasonable. Okay, there are many other channels we know. There are many other channels. For example, a few years ago, you can buy real estate in Shenzhen, and then you can actually put the put your real estate on mortgage in Hong Kong, and then you get Hong Kong dollars out of that. So in that if you use that way, then your renminbi can be converted to Hong Kong dollars. The Hong Kong dollars is a free currency, so you can exchange with any major currencies in the world. That's one way of doing that. There are other ways. For example, like you go to Macau and then you go to the casinos. Okay, the casinos you can convert them to big money. That is why you hear people like this guy goes to casino and just lose $3 million, something like that in a day. A lot of them they're actually money laundering. Okay, so that's one channel. Other than that, let's say if you have like 10 million if you have 10 million renminbi in China, it's very difficult to convert them to any other coins. And as a Taiwanese citizen now in Taiwan, you cannot buy foreign currencies in China. Actually, the Chinese government didn't stop you from what is called from wiring your money out of China. You're free to do that. It's just you cannot wire renminbi from China. If you have US dollar in China saved in your account, US dollar, Japanese yen, you're free to wire them. Okay, to wire them. That is no problem. So the problem is you cannot convert your renminbi to major currencies. Okay, so that is the number one reason. So there's a huge demand of capital flight. That is why a lot of people they actually use Bitcoin. So in that case, if you buy Bitcoin, then you can get your money out of China. The other thing is there are some people who invested in Bitcoin in the early stage and they make a lot of money. And then there are a lot of those ICOs. So the ICOs is kind of like the IPOs in stock market. Those ICOs, there are a lot of cryptocurrencies there. And then those cryptocurrencies, it's the value is totally based on Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin's value collapse, everything will collapse. I'm sure. I can guarantee that. No matter how many different cryptocurrencies there are, if the Bitcoin crashes, everything crashes. So there are a lot of people who already made a lot of money from Bitcoin. They actually do a lot of artificial fake transactions. I've heard from somebody saying that I heard some people say that like 90% of the transaction of Bitcoin transactions are fake. So that is the number two reason. Okay, so those are really, I mean, there may be other reasons as well. Okay, so I already listed two of them. Okay, right, capital flight. Okay, and also fake exchange, things like that, and also those company owners, the ICO company owners, they support Bitcoin because if they don't support Bitcoin, if Bitcoin's price collapse, then everything collapse. So even if the current situation is that if you mine Bitcoin, you can pretty much get no reward. Yeah, you have very limited reward people are still mining Bitcoin. That's probably because of these things. So that's the main three main reasons why Bitcoin is still so expensive. Now let's move on to NFT. Okay, now let's move on to NFT. So, what is NFT? It's actually a new blockchain that is dedicated to selling digital arts, and then they kind of made this cool name called non-fungible token. So maybe this word doesn't make any sense to anybody. I mean, anyway, it's a really good buzzword. I'm pretty sure that when most people hear about this, they have no idea what's going on. Non-fungible token. Anyway, it's just a special application of the Ethereum blockchain. The designer of NFT, they kind of like to they kind of designed this one to sell mainly digital art pieces. Ethereum blockchain supports NFT. It's because they can store extra information to make them work. And there are many other versions of many other blockchains that also can implement their own version of the NFT. So the NFT can be anything digital. For example, drawings, music, or whatever. Maybe the structure of your brain downloaded and turned into an AI or something. Any digital data. Okay. Lots of them they use this technology to sell digital art. For example, like this one. This is a 50-second video clip. It's sold for this much, 390,000 US dollar. Yeah, yeah. Can you guys believe this? You guys, you can take a look. So this is called Crossroad #1/1. This is actually they it's a 50-second clip. As you can see, this is they actually created this pieces of art after Donald Trump lost the election. Like this, it's a way to make fun of him, and then it's sold for a lot of money. So this piece was sold for $390,000, and now they actually even they charge more. The original listing price is this now. I mean, you can resale. The average sales price is crazy. So this is one example. The other one, let's take a look at another example. If you look at the second example, this is called the Gucci Ghost. Yeah, this piece was sold for 3,600 US dollars. This Gucci Ghost, which is crazy. And now they charge more. Okay, if you look at the if you look at this is called Gucci Ghost, right? The original listing price is already not cheap. It's 200 US dollars. If you guys look at the average sales price, $2,000, and then the secondary market volume is like this. So this NFTs, they are just a blockchain. If you look at the here, okay, if you open this Etherscan, it lists all transactions, this transaction hash and then method and something like that. They basically what does this contain? It contains the ownership of some digital art. It simply says you, for example, me, Scott Huang, owns a piece of digital art like that. There's no other things, and not everybody understand what this is, right? So this is NFT, whatever it is, Gucci Ghost. Okay, it's the right of it's the ownership, right of ownership, something like that. Because the video, for example, like this one, the crossroad, anybody can download it. It's only a 50-second video clip. You can download it. You can watch anyway. Everybody can copy, okay, and replicate this file, okay. And the Gucci Ghost is like that too. It's a GIF file, okay. Everybody can own it. Everybody can copy this file. It's just a ownership. So if you look at those, yeah, the blockchain contains the ownership. It's specifically stated in the blockchain that somebody, the buyer, now owns the legal right of this piece of digital art. So it's just a record, and then you buying that record for this much money. Okay. So you guys can go to those websites and then take a look and the stuff. This is NFT. As we see that now, it's a huge bubble. We really can't you can't believe how much bubble it has. So this is NFT. Okay, it's we can view this as application of a of application of blockchain. Okay. Now let's take a look at the next topic. Our next topic will be regarding network security. So it's more like networking because we have done with cryptography stuff. Okay. Now we're moving on to network security. So we will be talking about IPsec and SSL TLS. So we want to ask these questions. So should all applications employ SAM, their own authentication, integrity, confidentiality functions, mechanisms? Because these functions, they take time to develop, and also they have to be developed carefully. Otherwise, if there's any loophole, then the whole system will not work. So some people want to implement to make security more transparent to the applications. And then another question is, at what layer should such security devices be implemented? Because we know that network has many layers, right? There are two most commonly used security services, SSL and IPsec. The two common ways of providing the same security services. Okay, because we know that network has some layers. Okay, if you look at the OSI model, let me just Google this OSI model. So there are many layers. Generally speaking, there are a lot of layers, not just this layer. You can take a look. Yeah, let's take a look. So there's layers. Okay. Yeah, maybe I can. So basically we have physical layer and data link layer, network layer, transport layer. So there are two main layers that's related to our security applications. One is the network layer, the other is the transport layer. Actually, this layer, the way of layering network, it's not unique. What we are talking about here is called OSI model, which is the most commonly used model. Even though this is not a perfect model, if you guys have learned network, then you probably know that these layers are not defined that well. For example, like the session layer and presentation layer, those layers are kind of like redundant. A lot of them, they can be integrated into the application layer. And the other thing is the data link layer is just too big because there is some so-called LLC layer, which deals with some lower layer stuff. The other is there's another one called the medium access control, which is part of the data link layer. However, the medium access control, or sometimes called the MAC layer, plays a big deal. So this layer is too large. It should be divided into two separate layers, the LLC layer and the data link layer. Now we won't talk too much about networking stuff. Anyway, the most common layer that we handle in which we handle security are the network layer and transport layer. So the network layer, in short, is that we have the IP address, because this is the layer of the IP. So we have, for example, like 140.113.1.2, something like that. We've seen those IP address. So every IP address is at the network layer that tells us, okay, there's this location. Okay, that's a network layer. And then the IP packets will specify those IP address. However, there's no security mechanism to protect those. Anybody can send you an IP packet and claiming that I'm from this IP address, and there's no way to check it. Okay, using the current IPv4 networking layer, there's no way you can check it. So it is essential that we provide some kind of security mechanism with this network layer. For example, I can really be sure that when a packet is sent to me claiming that it's from this particular IP address, 141.112.3.4, for example, and then I can be really sure that this packet is from that one. This is IPsec. Okay, so that's the one of a really important thing, but pretty much universal to any networking or security applications. Another is a transport layer. Okay, if you guys have learned a network, then you guys will be really familiar, because the famous protocol TCP is at this layer. So this layer is basically dealing with the quality of service. So when you are sending a lot of packets, for example, like you share a big file or you're doing streaming video, so you are sending consecutive packets, how can you be sure that they will arrive at the right moment and with the right order? For example, you send a big file, you probably have to chop this file into 10,000 pieces. Okay, and then each of them has a number. Okay, so that's quality of stuff. Then transport layer or the TCP protocol handles this. For if you do anything above the TCP protocol, you can call their functions. You have a send and receive. Just send a file. You don't have to worry about how these files are partitioned into packets, and then those packets how they are converted back to a single file, and then there's no missing file, and then you're sure that this file each packet is sent. These things are all dealt with at the networking layer. Okay, a TCP layer. So the both the IP layer or the networking layer and the the transport layer, they pretty much handle the most significant, most functionality that we use every day. So that is why TCP/IP handles they are the most important networking protocols, because TCP is the main protocol that's used at the transport layer, and the IP is the main protocol that's used in the networking layer. So SSL TLS is to be implemented at the transport layer, SSL. Okay, and the IPsec is implemented at layer 3, is the networking layer. Okay, so most operating systems implement the IP stack up to layer 4, including this layer 4 is TCP, the transport layer. Okay, the SSL's philosophy is that the operating system does not need to be changed. Okay, simply create a superset of the APIs to the TCP. So you actually extend the TCP to contain those protocols containing all these encryption, key exchange, signature, this type of protocols. Okay, because so the transport layer security is above the transport layer. And IPsec's philosophy is that if the OS implements security, then all applications are automatically protected. Okay, no applications need to be modified. And then the crucial thing is when a packet claims that it's from a specific IP address, then you're sure it's really from that IP address. Okay, so the layering applications. If SSL is used, then SSL is here above the TCP. Okay, so SSU will call these TCP functions send and receive a file or streaming data, whatever. You don't have to worry about the quality of service, and then you can delivery of these files, send receive is guaranteed. Okay, it cannot be used with UDP because UDP is another protocol at the transport layer which does not guarantee a delivery. So UDP is most likely used in lightweight networks, so that you don't have to deal with this quality of service. Okay, if IPsec is used, then it's here. So IPsec is above the network layer and below the TCP layer. Okay, so only IP addresses are used for security, and then we don't need to care about any other things. Yeah. So we know that it's the real situation isn't that simple. So it's not just addresses, right? It's not that simple, but it is an important building block of security. So IP address, there's no authentication of the user, right? So no authentication. Application may need to use login password. So that's other stuff. Your application will deal with that. So IPsec is faster than SSL. Okay, then because hardware implementation is easier. So that's IPsec. Now let's take a look at IPsec. Network layer security. So it encrypts, so it has encryption and authenticates all traffic at the IP level. So it can be used on LAN, local area networks, WANs, wide area networks, public, private networks can be used in a lot of networks. And it's also application dependent. Okay. These, for example, web browsing, okay, browser, telnet, FTP, and so on and so forth. It's also transparent to user. Okay, IPsec. It provides a lot of security services at the IP level: access control, connectionless integrity, data origin authentications, rejection of replayed packets, data confidentiality, limited traffic analysis, some traffic analysis, confidentiality. So there are many cases where IPsec can be used. You can have an end user, okay, end user to end user via an internet or intranet, okay, small intranet, or end user to a security gateway, okay, or many others. Intranet, okay. Two hosts, between two hosts plus two gateways, okay, something like that, or dial-up, okay, using dial-up. Let's take a look at the protocols in IPsec. There is an authentication header, AH. It ensures authentication and integrity of IP datagrams packets. Okay, it adds an additional field to the IP packet to ensure and check the authenticity of the data from a specific IP address. Okay, from that point of view, you have no by the way, at the IP level means we're only handling addresses and we have no idea who this person is. We are only sure that it's from this address. That's it, from this IP address. Anything beyond that is beyond the scope of IPsec. Okay. I just have to be sure that it's really from this IP address and something else. You cannot fake it. Okay, and then if you want encryption, The encryption can be done from a packet that's originated at a specific IP address to another IP address. That's it. All intermediate nodes, they cannot decrypt it. Yeah, that's IPsec. Encapsulating security payloads. That's the part of the real payload data you can encrypt, so you can protect your data. Okay, that is sent from IP address to another. You're sure that anybody between these on the path cannot read it, have no idea what it is. Okay, it's primarily designed for confidentiality. Yeah, it can also be employed for authentication. And then it also has the internet key exchange. It's a key exchange protocol, again, between two IP addresses. Okay, we'll exchange keys between two IP addresses that need to communicate over the internet. So they will specify what type of authentication methods you use. For example, like Diffie-Hellman, RSA, that kind of stuff. And the security association, it's a unidirectional relationship between a sender and a receiver. Okay, because two security associations are required for bidirectional operations. Okay, it's specified as security services. Let's take a look at an example. Integrity only, so in that case, you don't need to have confidentiality. In other words, you don't need to encrypt data. Or in integrity plus confidentiality. So this integrity only, that means your data, generally speaking, your data will attach a HMAC or something, okay, hash function. So HMAC is keyed, and then that key is bound to an IP address, something like that. Integrity plus confidentiality, that will most likely will use, for example, an AES to encrypt data. Okay, because AES, if you want confidentiality, you can also guarantee integrity, something like that. So the SA can be identified by three parameters: IP destination address, security protocol identifier, tells you how you want to use AH or ESP. Okay, security parameters index, SPI. So these are the details of those. And also there's multiple security associations can be used to provide required security services. Okay. And these are called SA bundles. Okay. As an example, we can have an authentication header protocol followed by ESP, something like that. Okay. And SA will specify the modes of authentication, okay, the ESP encryption algorithm, authentication algorithms, presence or absence of cryptographic synchronization, and then these details. How often the keys have to be changed, to be updated, okay, which is key lifetime, okay, and then also lifetime of SA. Transport mode. IPsec has two modes of operation. Number one is the transport mode. The other is tunnel mode. Okay, so in the transport mode, the IP header are not completely protected because, well, in some cases, if you don't need to protect the IP headers, then you use transport mode. In the tunnel mode, on the other hand, everything is protected. IP headers also protected. Okay. So this protection is provided for upper layers. If your, for example, application layer has its own way to protect data, okay, then IP header, you don't protect the IP headers. So it's usually used in host-to-host communications. So in this case, the IPsec header is inserted between the IP header and the rest of the packet. So you can insert here. Okay, IPsec header and transport mode. Tunnel mode, the original IP headers are completely protected. So anything between that, they have no idea what this packet is about. Okay, it adds another high IP header in the end. So you have this is IPsec header, and then there's another IP header. Okay, so this one is protected. Okay, this helps against traffic analysis. Okay, it's commonly used for firewall to firewall communications or end-to-end firewall communications. AH authentication header provides the support for data integrity and authentication of IP packets. It prevents of address spoofing and replay attacks, but it does not provide confidentiality of payload data. And the authentication is based on using a MAC. So here, this MAC is also okay. It's not median access control. Okay, it's it's a message authentication. Okay, so part is message authentication code. So these parties must share a secret key. Okay, there can be some problem because NAT is not supported using AH. Okay, so NAT needs to be removed. So this NAT or network address translation is kind of conflicting with the AH authentication header. We know that if you guys have learned computer networks, this network address translate is basically used to deal with the situation that we don't have enough IP addresses. Okay, so for example, like if you guys if you share your let's say if you have a if you share Wi-Fi using your iPhone or something like that, and then your computer or your iPad can go online through your cell phone. In that case, everything will share the same IP address. Okay, because you're using three devices: a laptop, an iPad, and your cell phone itself, right? They all share. They're all bound to your account. They share the same IP address. So one person will have a lot of devices. IP addresses will run out very quickly because IPv4 was designed a long time ago. At that moment, nobody expect that there's so many people using the network because in the beginning, the computer network is only contains 4 nodes. It just UCLA, UC Santa Barbara, and then these universities are connecting with each other. That's it, right? Nobody expected that the internet will grow to such a massive scale. So anyway, a few like decades after that, when a lot of people are getting onto the internet, then the IP addresses are not enough. That is why we need NAT. But the problem is NAT is not compatible, and NAT is not supported using AH. Let's take a look at AH details. So we have these fields, okay, next header, okay, and then payload length, okay, and then this is not used. This is reserved for later use, okay, and then SPI, okay, the sequence number, authentication data, okay, so on and so forth. This authentication header contains this stuff. It tells you about these parameters you use. It can prevent the replay attack because it uses 30-bit sequence numbers, okay, to detect replay attack IP packets. We know that an attacker can use a replay attack because a node can temporarily save a packet and then replay it later, okay, to disrupt the network, okay. But this can be prevented. This can be prevented by AH, okay. So you use a sequence number that tells you the freshness of that, and then the sequence a sequence number SA expires this. Okay. So yeah, similar things. You guys can take a look at similar details. The receiver also use a window of some size, okay, to keep track of authenticated packets. And then also a receiver also checks the MAC, message authentication code, MAC, to see whether the packet is authentic. So the transport mode versus tunnel mode. The tunnel mode is more secure. Definitely this trade-off. Transport mode is less secure, okay, because there's less protection. The protection is primarily for upper layer protocol, okay. So it's typically used for end-to-end communications. Tunnel mode provides kind of like full protection to the entire IP, okay. So more protection, generally speaking, less efficiency, because it's used when one end or both ends of an SA are security gateway. So you have to protect both ways, a firewall, a router. Okay. So this is transport mode, kind of like a half protection. Okay. So the authentication header contains this. Okay. Transport mode, AH. The MAC is calculated over these criteria. Okay. And then the AH MAC is generated using the HMAC, which is the SHA or MD5 we just introduced. We just introduced last week. Maybe 2 weeks ago. Okay. Then the MAC is truncated to 96 bits. This is a little old, but so far there's there are other. Even though this is a little old, the IPsec, it's still currently used because it's difficult to make changes to the entire network. That's a problem, right? Tunnel mode. Okay, protecting two gateways, firewalls, kind of stuff. Okay, so the packet format looks like this. The authentication header contains these things. Next, header, payload, SPI, sequence number, MAC. Okay, tunnel mode. Entire IP packet is authenticated. Okay, these are the details. AH is inserted between the original IP header and the new IP header. The original IP header contains the ultimate source and destination address. Okay. ESP. So that's the payload. That contains actual data, because AH just specifies some parameters. Okay. ESP contains actual data of the packet. So it creates a new header. Okay. New trailer. It encrypts the payload data, so nobody on the path will understand what it is. Okay, only the source and destination will be able to decrypt. Okay, will understand what it is. Okay. It authenticates security association and prevents replay. So the ESP is like actual payload data. It contains all this stuff. Okay. SPI, sequence number, payload. So that's the actual data, the payload, the actual data of the packet. Padding, if it's not enough to multiple of 256, we'll do some padding. So then the encryption algorithm will operate smoothly, because most encryption algorithms they're using 256 or multiples of 256 bit data. Okay. ESP. Again, we have transport mode and tunnel mode. So more protection in the tunnel mode. The transport mode is used to encrypt and optionally authenticate IP data. Okay. This is good for host-to-host traffic. Tunnel mode good for gateway to gateway, okay, firewall to firewall, VPN. The transport mode ESP without IPsec is like this. With IPsec, so this part is encrypted. This part, the transport mode, okay, and then this part is authenticated. ESP header, ESP trailer. So this diagram gives a really, it's a nice diagram. It tells us how much protection we have. Okay, so this is encrypted and authenticated. Okay, transport mode. Authentication is also optional. So the block of data containing the ESP trailer and transport layer segment is converted to the ciphertext, encrypted. Encryption and authentication algorithms for ESP contains 3 DES. DES is really outdated, and the older versions still use 3 DES. So 3 DES, the security is okay, but it's too slow. Okay, and an idea was another. These are other block ciphers. Now they support AES. Okay, message authentication, MD5 and SHA. Yeah, that's the time of development. Okay, for IPsec. IPsec is required in IP version 6. The IP protocol we're using, they're still mostly IP4, version 4, does not contain any security mechanism. Okay, but IP version 6 will definitely contain IPsec, but not IP4. IP6 is growing slowly. IP version 6 has been developed more than 10 years ago, maybe 20 years ago, but still not widely used. Maybe like 20% of the total computers on the internet. So it's still not required because IP6 requires the use of IPsec. Okay, but IP version 4 does not require that. It's optional. Tunnel mode, okay, has more protection. This is tunnel mode, encrypted, authenticated. Okay, so tunnel mode, the entire IP packet is encrypted like this. Entire IP packet. This part is encrypted. This is the original IP packet. Okay, is encrypted, and then you add another layer, ESP header, and other layer. So this can counter traffic analysis. Okay, entire encrypted block is encapsulated in another IP packet, and it will be transmitted. It's useful if the hosts are within an intranet, which are incapable of IPsec. We can combine security associations because a single SA, security association, can specify AH or ESP. Okay. So in order to provide security services, we need to use multiple security associations. So we have a sequence of security associations. Okay. They can be executed in order on an IP packet. And then such thing is called a security association bundle, SA bundle. Okay, the SA within an SA bundle may terminate at the same endpoints or different endpoints. Okay. So that's security association bundles. Okay, so we have transport adjacency. I'll use more than one IPsec protocol without tunneling. So here's an example. Use ESP and then AH. Okay. So we can have iterated tunneling as well, multiple IPsec protocols. Okay. Each tunnel can originate or end at different hosts along the route. Okay. Security association bundles. So in the network, two machines over on the internet, there are many cases. So let's say this is host to host. You can get to you're connecting to another host via the internet, and then you have a local intranet, right? First you get, send something to the local intranet and then to another host. So for example, the local intranet is something like for example, the EE department, and hosts, maybe for example, my office is a host. Okay, so I'll first get to the local intranet, which is the EE or CS department, and then they will send to the router. The router is something like, for example, the router at NTHU have a big router, okay, and then it connects to the internet. Then we can go to, for example, another university, the University of California, UC Berkeley, for example. So this part is internet, and then they have another router. Berkeley has another router, and then, for example, Berkeley's CS department, Berkeley's EE department, and then reach another host, right? So we can have one or more SAs, and then, for example, like here we have the tunnel from the gateway to gateway is fully protected, okay, because this part internet is not that secure. Generally speaking, if you the local intranet, this part is a little more secure, so we don't need to use the tunnel for this part, because, for example, the local intranet is held at NTHU at our campus. Pretty much, we can trust them generally, okay. But over the internet, from gateway to gateway, we have no idea who is in the middle. Right. So in that case, we use tunnel SA. So that's one case. So this is case one. Or you can use this case, right? You can use a lot of security association bundles, or like this, the internet. You connect directly to the internet. For example, you're using China Telecom, 中华电信. Okay, that gets on the internet directly. Okay, so you get on the internet. So in that case, you connect directly to the internet. You're not connecting to the internet via local intranet. Okay, you can use many kinds of security association bundles. Okay, and there's also a key exchange protocol within IPsec. Okay, so that's kind of like the exchanging protocol. We all know how important that is, right? Because it ensures that two parties will share the same keys. Okay, and then you can use the any encryption algorithm for that, right? So there's a protocol for agreement on what algorithm you use, what protocol you use, what algorithm you use, what keys to use. It's a negotiating services. So it will ensure that you're talking with the entity that you believe you're talking with. So no man in the middle. Okay, and it's also managing keys after you're sure. Okay. Okay, so you in reality, it's confusing and chaotic. Okay, it's really complex. So that's IPsec. That's pretty much IPsec. And let's take a look at SSL. So SSL is different. SSL is implemented above the TCP. Okay, so I mentioned that TCP handles the quality of service, so you can send big files, right? So it's above the IP address. So IP address, you only send one packet from one address to another. For the TCP, you're sending a file or sending streaming videos, and then you can guarantee that they will be delivered in order. That's TCP. Okay. So their application services, security services contain these things. Okay, server authentication, data encryption, message integrity, client authentication. So TCP is prone to different types of attack. For example, you're sending a bunch of packets, and then an attacker can replay all those packets, right? To disrupt the network, and that's dealt with at this layer. It's all based on the TCP applications, web browser, e-commerce, so on and so forth. HTTPS or SHTTP. By the way, SHTTP is a different protocol. HTTPS is the one we use more often. Okay. So SSL. It's an open protocol designed by Netscape. So Netscape is probably the first successful browser. It really maybe now I believe most of you have probably never heard about that Netscape. It's a pioneering company that developed a web browser even before Microsoft. And then, when I was in college, which was 1994, okay, Windows was trying to release Windows 95, which is an operating system that really sucks. I hate that operating system. Okay, Windows 95. But Windows 95 basically forces everybody to use their own web browser, because the Microsoft company, they realized that browser is a big deal, so they really pretty much they force everybody to use their own browser, because there's a built-in browser. That's the Internet Explorer, which sucks, right? So the Netscape was then basically defeated by Microsoft, and then now they sold the company, and then it's changed to Firefox. So basically, Firefox is the kind of like a reincarnation of Netscape. SSL was developed by Netscape. Okay. And then the version 1 wasn't successful, so it has some problems. So SSL version 2 was the first deployed version. Okay. And then Microsoft, as one of a main competitor, they created their own protocol called PCT. Okay. And then there's other versions as well, SSL version 2 and SSL version 3. That's the public input and industry backing. So basically, SSL they're adopted by the internet standard, and then they change another name called transport layer security. Okay, so it's essentially the same thing, but later they'll call TLS. They're almost the same. Okay, it's kind of like a company buys another company, okay, and then later this company TLS will develop other things based on the old stuff. There's some minor difference that I would say that 99% the same. So TLS, now we call TLS. We add because newer stuff has been added. There are other stuff in later versions. Anyway, we sometimes regard them or group them together. So sometimes we say SSL/TLS. So the first version of TLS is 99% the same as SSL. They're almost the same. Okay, they provide reliable end-to-end service. So we know the protocol. Actual protocol is kind of complicated, but we can take a look at the simplified protocol. So we have an SSL client, SSL server. So first you connect to the server, request authentication, right? You're providing some credentials, and then the server replies something, and then request authentication of the client in case you need to do both the two-way authentication. Okay, and then negotiate something like security association parameters, something like that. Generate session, SSL. So this provides a really some fundamental services. For example, like HTTPS. We know that HTTP is a protocol. Okay, when you visit a website, okay, it's just a bunch of files stored somewhere on the internet, on the some folders. Okay, so when you see there is a web page. Okay, there's text, there's photos, pictures, maybe audio files or video. Okay, embedded in the web page. So everything together, they are unified in a single way called a hypertext markup language, right? So that's a universal language that tells you what's contained in the web page, and then it's anything is embedded to the message in the web page will give you the location. Okay, that's HTTP. So if you build your HTTP upon SSL, then all these messages sending back and forth, they are protected. Okay, then that's HTTPS. Okay, HTTP over SSL. Okay, TOS. Okay, that's the idea. Let's stop here.